Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live today. Hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend, ready to get back to it. So, I'd like to talk this morning about the EB1 Extraordinary Alien Petition, what's involved with that, some basics, and so forth. And once I'm done with all that, once I'm done with my spiel on the EB1, I will be more than happy to answer any questions you have. So go ahead and type them now, and you will be able to get your answers once I'm done. So what's the EB1? Well, first of all, let's break down the initials. E is employment, B is based, and 1 is first preference. So whenever you see first preference in immigration law, it means that's the best. Okay, that's the hardest, the best and the hardest. And it's obviously employment based, so it has nothing to do with family. Okay, and by that I mean you're not petitioned by a family member unless you happen to be a derivative or a dependent. Okay, so for example, if somebody gets an EB1 and they're married and they have children under 21 who are single, then those people can also apply for the EB1s, assuming they don't age out and assuming the marriage is legitimate. So one thing I found in the past here is that there's a lot of people who think because they have just got their doctorates or their PhDs that they can just walk in the door, apply for an EB1 with hardly any supporting evidence, and think they're going to walk out the door with a green card. And I know that it is very difficult to get a PhD, or a doctorate. I know that. But I also know that there is a substantial amount of those people who unfortunately think that because of that they are a shoo-in for the EB1, and that's not the case. Okay? I get people who want consultations, and they basically say to me, how long will it take me to get the EB1? I mean, that's their only concern. Not do I qualify, not what do I need, not how do I do it, just how long will it take? Okay, like it's a matter of checking a few boxes, sending in, making the payment, and then getting your your EB1. So the first things first, you have to have realistic expectations of what the EB1 is. Get out of your minds that just because you have a PhD, just because you've published a few papers, just because you might be, at the top of your class, does not mean by itself you are EB1 caliber, okay? You might be, okay, but it's not a slam dunk case. No EB1 is a slam dunk case. Well, okay, I take it back. There's one kind of EB1s that are a slam dunk. If you win a Nobel Prize, you got an EB1, okay? But people who win Nobel Prizes, they do not walk in my door. And for the most part, people who win Nobel Prizes, they either are happy where they are, or they don't want to be U.S. residents, whatever it is. So those are very, very few. And it's almost funny when you look at the regulations, because it says essentially, if you have won a Nobel Prize, you're in, okay? You got it. But if you haven't won the Nobel Prize, which is 99.999 1,000 times percent of you, then you need to find or have at least 3 of the following 10 categories, okay? And they list 10 different categories. I've also had people who not only think maybe because they just got a PhD or something that they qualify, but I've had people that they look at their own history, their own awards, their own evidence, and they feel that they fit under 3 without a problem. So again, they think that all they have to do is go, okay, I didn't win the Nobel Prize, but I fit under this category. I have 3 publications. I'm well known, and I get a really high salary. Those happen to be 3 of them. And they think by having what they believe are elements that fit within those 3 categories, that they're in. That there's no question, no discussion, there's no decision making, they're in. And it doesn't work like that either, okay? It doesn't say in the regulations that if you feel you have one scintilla of evidence under each of 3 of the 10 categories, you are in. Okay, it's not like that. If it were, it would just be a matter of checking boxes and they would verify and you'd be in. And it's not like that. I can tell you without question that the EB1s that I've submitted in the past, they're about this thick. And it's not baloney garbage paper, okay? Lawyers learn that very early in their careers. Don't fluff the briefs. Don't make it big just to make it big. It's garbage, okay? Get to the point and put what's relevant and make the arguments, okay? So just getting the first 3 items maybe is just the beginning of an EB1, okay? It is a purely, I mean 100%, purely discretionary decision making by the adjudications officer. That means that they can review the 500 pages you submitted, or if you're unfortunately one of those people who think that, you absolutely qualified because you have a doctorate degree, or because you have published 1 paper or 2 papers and you make a lot of money and you believe, you easily fit under 3 categories, and you submit a EB1 that's like, 4 pages long, they'll deny it. Okay, they'll just deny it. Some people think that because I or someone else is a very qualified immigration attorney, that we have officers at immigration that we can say, hey, can you do me a favor and approve this one type thing? That doesn't happen. And anyone who tells you that happens, they're lying to you and they're taking you for a ride. There's also a reason that the officers get rotated a lot, okay? 6 months here, 6 months there, just, as a basis for that. They'll tell you that it's to get new experiences and see new places, but the real reason is, so there's no corruption. And there may be at some point, but not generally and not for this discussion. And they don't make 1 penny more if they approve your EB1. You can't think, well, I'll just give that adjudicator $20,000 and I'll walk out with a green card. It doesn't work like that, okay? EB1 means that you are at the very top of your field, not in the U.S., but in the world, okay? And that is a hard burden. So, like I was talking before, if you have people who are, who just got their doctors and published papers and they think that they're at the very top of their field, you're not. Think about how many people in the world have the same degree as you. In the world, okay? And it's not the degree that gets you the EB1. I mean, that certainly helps. I mean, I'm not denigrating the doctorate degrees for sure, but think about the EB1. It's the field you're going into that determines it, not the degree. You can't say you have a doctorate degree in chemistry and therefore you qualify. So when you're doing an EB1, you have to narrow the field. That's the secret, okay? You have to get the field narrower and narrower and narrower. So the number of people who are in that category have shrunk by a tremendous amount. Okay, let's just use my example. Let's just say, some guy has a degree, a doctorate in chemistry. Okay, not a lot of people that have that, but that's a great start. Well, then you have to say, what do they want the EB1 in? Okay, so let's just say that this person has worked for years with her doctorate in chemistry at, for example, a perfume place. Okay, they are experts through chemistry and through knowing what they do of making perfume. Using this as an example. And let's just narrow it down more. Let's say that they are specializing in perfume for women over 50. Okay? So you see how I narrowed that field a lot? So just to walk into the door, doctorate of chemistry, expert in making perfumes, and then expert in making perfumes for women over 50. Okay? So now you've got a good starting point. So from there, where do you go? Well, now we look at, what experience you have and the recommendations and the awards and the certificates. And we go through all of the 10 things. And me, I don't just stop at 3. I get you in everything I can. If I can get you in 6 of those categories, I do. And, sometimes 3 of the categories are super good and sometimes 3 are not. But at least I put arguments for 6 of them, plus everything. And, when we do the EB1, put the legal brief, declarations, affidavits, supporting evidence. We put all of the publications you've had. We show why, very coherently, why you are under each of those categories. All right. And then we submit the EB1. And if you want to do an EB1 premium processing, you're more than welcome. It's very expensive these days. You pay another $2,500 or so just in filing fees. Okay? Nothing to do with attorney's fees, just in filing fees for the premium processing. So, it's up to you if you want to do that. Now, with the premium processing, you are more than welcome to also do another application you might qualify for. Okay? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I mean, if you want to, that's fine, except you shouldn't. Because unlike other types of categories, like I've told you, EB1 by far is not a slam dunk category. So, it's not rolling the dice either. I mean, it takes a long time to properly prepare. So when people send me their resumes and their curriculum vitaes, the first question they should ask is, do you think I qualify for the EB1? Not when am I getting the green card? Okay. So that, in essence, is a summary of the EB1, how it applies, how it's not easy, but how you can do it, okay? I don't want to dissuade people either. So if you have a realistic expectation of what it is, and, you're not too, I don't know how to say this tactfully, you're not too full of yourself, thinking you'll walk in the door and there's no way that you won't get it. And if it's put together in a very comprehensive fashion, then you might be EB1 caliber, okay? And if you're going on another petition as well, you can go ahead and do it. It's like two horses going around the track. The first one to the finish line wins. EB1 is fantastic because there's no backlog in it anywhere on the planet, okay? So that's good. So it's just processing time. And of course, if you do premium processing, that cuts that way down. You don't have to have a petitioner. And many people like that for a couple reasons. One, they can't find their own petitioner. And two, they like running their own business. They like and they don't have to run their own business. They just have to go in the field they're saying. So as long as you go in the field that you're saying you're going to go in, then this is a self-petition. It's a EB1A self-employment petition. Okay? So that's the EB1s. In a nutshell. Obviously there's more, but we can do that next time. All right, so let me scroll back down here and get to whatever questions we have. And as you all know, because I say it every week, it takes me a while to scroll to get to the questions because they have no magic button that just lets you get to it. So let me just scroll up here until we get to something. Just a second. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully well. I was up in San Francisco, had a nice hotel stay where they were protesting the whole time, so we didn't get our nice breakfast. But hopefully, the unions and all them will work it all out. Okay. That's called small talk until I get to the questions. Just a second. Okay. Do you do applications for EB3? Well, the answer is yes, definitely. EB3 happens to be the most popular category for employment-based petitions. So realistically, just to put it in perspective, if you have 100 employment-based petitions that are submitted to immigration, 90 of them, realistically 90, at least 90, will be under EB3, okay? And then all the other ones will fall under, the last 10%, if that. So any immigration lawyer who's worth his or her salt will do and specialize in EB3s. An employment-based third preference. So, we've been talking this whole time about employment-based first preferences. So third preference is not as good, okay? It takes longer. There's backlogs. For example, you could be doing an EB3 from India, let's just say, bachelor's degree, and the wait there could be 10 to 15 years before the visa number becomes current. You could do the perm, which is the first part of the process. Then you could do the I-140, which is the second part of the process. And let's just pretend you do all that in 6 months and it gets approved. You're not walking in the door until the visa number becomes current. And again, that could take 10, 15 years. So the success rate of EB3s, if you know what you're doing, of course, it's higher than EB1s because they're easier to get in. They're a lot easier, but it takes a lot of time, okay? And that's where most people fit. Nothing wrong with that. That's where most people fit. EB3s are divided into different categories as well. I mean, there's the skilled EB3s, a college degree or 2 years of experience, basic requirements, or there's the unskilled, okay, something that requires less than 2 years. So contact my office if you want. I'll give you a consultation, let you know if you qualify for the EB3. First question you're going to say is, do you need a sponsor? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And the second question you're going to say is, does my firm find you a sponsor? And the answer is no, we're not an employment agency. But once you find the sponsor, we can certainly help you. Okay? So let's see. My removal was dismissed. What documents do I need to submit along with the I-485? The I-130 was approved. Okay. First of all, it might just be your terminology here, but removals are not dismissed. Okay, that's not what happens. It's unclear procedurally what you're saying here. Were you in immigration court? Were you in removal proceedings? And did the judge terminate the proceedings for one way or another, thereby relinquishing jurisdiction over your case and thereby allowing you to go in front of USCIS? When you say what documents do you need to submit with the 485, well, it depends. There's lots of different ways of qualifying for a 485. We've been talking about a couple employment-based ways right here. Lots of family-based ways. And just because your removal was dismissed, what you say was dismissed, does it mean that you had a removal order many years ago and that all the years have passed and you were outside the United States and you're not subject to the permanent bar? Or does it mean you're inside the United States? I mean, there's lots of questions I have. I don't want you to think because your I-130 got approved that you're home free. All the I-130 shows is that there's a qualifying relationship, a qualifying family relationship. I mean, let's say you got married. It shows that, you're the foreign national, your spouse is the U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. It doesn't go into inadmissibility issues. It doesn't go into qualifying issues. I mean, you could have committed 13 crimes, been in prison for 20 years, and still be in prison, and you could still get an I-130 approved, okay? So, I mean, it's nice you got the I-130 approved, but don't think that, you hit a home run and there's no other problems, okay? So I'd need to have more information on your case. Okay. Let's see. I have a note from TikTok. It says, encourage your viewers to share your live and invite more friends. All right? If you're watching, share and invite more friends. Okay. Let's see. Let me just scroll down here and see what questions we have. Well, I think this is the same guy. Do you process EB3s? It's just you had the question way above, and I answered that. So my answer is yes, with all the caveats that I put. Let's see. Scrolling. My status hasn't changed. I don't know what that means. What is your current status? Okay. What are you on? Are you here illegally? Are you on visitor visa? Does it expire in 3 months? Are you here on F1 getting a college degree? All depends. Hi, sir. How are you doing today? Well, that's a question. It's not an immigration question, but I'm doing great. Thanks. Went to Ghirardelli's Chocolate in San Francisco. Oh my God, that place is so good, but I bet you there was 6,000 calories in that thing. If you get to San Francisco, go to Ghirardelli's. It's the best. Okay, almost. All right, well, I think that's going to about do the live for today. I hope that you learned a bit on the EB1s and how to do it. As usual, if you want a consultation, just contact my office. I have multiple ways of doing it. You can even self-schedule it. It's like magic. And I'll be happy to see what I can do to help. Okay, I can help with anything related to U.S. immigration. I can never, ever be stumped. Okay, I'm not bragging. It's just after 30 years experience, that's the way it is. So, hey, it's got 6 new messages at the bottom here. If I do that, does that mean it goes right to them? Well, I think I answered them. I hope I did. If I didn't, sorry, and I'll try to get it next time. Everybody have a very fine day and enjoy the rest of the week. All right, signing off.